a reporter asked Donald Trump about his new nominee for U.S. Surgeon General. Now, I want to give you a little background. You know, this is a woman who never finished her residency and is not a practicing physician, meaning she doesn't have a medical license. And she's going to be our Surgeon General. Now, if you don't find that problematic, I don't know what will. But this was the question and Donald Trump's response to it yesterday. And there's a reason why I'm playing this for you. We'll get to that. But have a listen to this.
You just announced a new nominee for the U.S. Surgeon General who never finished her residency and is not a practicing physician. So can you explain why you picked her to be America's top doctor?
Because Bobby thought she was fantastic. She's she's a brilliant woman who went through Stanford. And as I understand it, she basically wanted to be an academic as opposed to a surgeon. I think she graduated first in her class at Stanford. And Bobby really thought she was great. I don't know her. I listened to the recommendation of Bobby. I met her yesterday and once before. She's a very outstanding person, a great academic, actually. So I think she'll be great.
Okay, so first of all, that's a lie. There are no rankings at Stanford University. They just have a pass-fail system. So when they say she was tops in her class, that's a lie. I'll get back to that in a moment. But I cannot believe today, this might be a first, that I'm actually agreeing with Laura Loomer. I want to show you up there on the screen what Laura Loomer is saying about this new Attorney General. So Laura Loomer said this is arguably witchcraft. So I guess we have a voodoo doctor, not even a real doctor because she doesn't have a medical license. Laura Loomer went on to say, I want to know which one of the President Trump's geniuses chose a woman who literally talks to trees and spiritual mediums and who doesn't even have an active medical license to be the U.S. Surgeon General. I would call her a witch doctor, but she doesn't even have a valid active medical license. So I'm not going to call Casey Means a doctor. You have no idea how many texts I've received from doctors who are members of Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster who are like, what the F is this? This is honestly insane. See, here's where Laura Loomer, though, doesn't want to put any blame on Donald Trump. She says, I do not believe for 1 second that Donald Trump made this decision. I refuse to believe it. Okay, so I agree with like 90% of what Laura Loomer just said. I can't believe I'm saying that. But you notice how at the end she doesn't put any responsibility on Donald Trump. I can't believe that Donald Trump would do something like this. I can't believe it. Remember he picked Matt Gaetz to be the Attorney General? Do you remember when he picked Pete Hegseth to be the second in command with our nuclear codes? Yeah. Do you remember when he picked Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be the head of Health and Human Services? But Laura Loomer just can't find it within herself to believe that he made this decision. Well, guess what? Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and the buck stops with him. And then you have Nicole Shanahan. Do you remember who Nicole Shanahan is? Another complete imbecile. This was the billionaire that Robert F. Kennedy chose only because of her money, not because of her brain, because she's an idiot. But even Nicole Shanahan feels like she was lied to, because how could Robert F. Kennedy Jr. lie? I mean, don't get me wrong. It was Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s ex-wife who read his diary about all the cheating that he did on her, and then she committed suicide. This is a guy who's lived off his last name, who's lied about vaccines, who's spread medical misinformation time and time again, who's a kook. But now all of a sudden it's Nicole Shanahan that's now finally starting to realize, maybe they just picked me as his VP running mate for my money. How stupid is this woman? And by the way, the only reason why she has money is because of her ex-husband. And Nicole Shanahan's comments saying that she believed that maybe he's being controlled and that she felt lied to about this pick. And she's going on record now on social media as saying Kennedy promised her that if she supported his confirmation to HHS, he wouldn't ever appoint Casey Means to any position in the Trump administration. So now all of a sudden she's smelling the roses and she's figuring it out that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a liar. It took her this long, you dumb nitwit. Oh yeah, let's get to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., shall we? By the way, I can't believe I agree with anything Laura Loomer says, but once in a while she gets it right, even though she's claiming that I can't believe Donald Trump is responsible for this. No, he is. He is. Speaking of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he did an interview on Fox News yesterday, and Brett Baer did ask him and challenge him on the fact that this person who is in this position doesn't even have a medical license. She didn't even finish her residency. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is asked about it, and here's a shocker, ladies and gentlemen. Shocker, he lied about it. Have a listen to this.
Some of the things she's advocated for, she never finished her residency, and she doesn't currently have an active medical license. But that's not.
She was the very top of her medical class at Stanford. She is during her residency, she won every award that she could win. She walked away from traditional medicine because she was not curing patients. She couldn't get anybody within her profession to look at the nutrition contributions to illness. And she said, if we're really going to heal people, if we're healers, we can't just be making our life about building new procedures. We actually have to figure out new approaches to medicine. And that's the kind of leadership that she's going to bring to our country.
And last thing on this,
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure she's going to bring a lot of leadership, just like you, somebody with literally no medical credentials. Listen, I understand that she has a degree, but she doesn't have a medical license. And as I've said before, she didn't finish her residency. But it's very interesting what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump are saying to defend this pick, because they're both claiming over and over again that she finished tops in her class. Well, didn't take long to do a little bit of digging into seeing if that was true or not. And it turns out that the Stanford School of Medicine has a pass-fail system rather than grades, meaning it's impossible to finish, quote, tops in your class. So they are lying to you. I know that would become much of a shock to some of you that are Donald Trump supporters, that Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would be lying to you. But ladies and gentlemen, they are. This woman does not have a medical license. She didn't even finish her residency, and she did not finish tops in her class. How do we know this? Because that's not how the Stanford School of Medicine does things. It's a pass-fail system. That would be like saying you either pass or you fail some sort of exam in college or high school. There's no grades. And if your son or daughter passes, you say he finished tops in his class. No, of course you'd say that's a lie. That's not true. I'm glad your son or daughter passed, but it doesn't mean you're number one. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And it's so easy to prove the lies of a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or a Donald Trump, yet people still believe it. It's insane.